If you have some unsightly lights in your house that you're looking to replace, you can do that with these recessed LED lights. And in this video, I'll show you how to take an ordinary light fixture and turn it into a recessed light fixture. So 2 disclaimers at the start. Disclaimer number 1, I am not a licensed electrician. So take this for what you will, do with that information what you will. I'm not a licensed electrician. I've learned from, the University of YouTube. So that's what I've got going for me. The second piece of information that I would give you is that I'm recording all of this with one hand while I'm trying to work with the other hand. It's just me. So if the footage is a little bit shaky, maybe not perfectly centered, I ask that you give me a little bit of grace with that and bear with me because I'm doing the best I can with my 2 hands. So really briefly, I just wanted to cover the tools that you're more than likely going to need for this project. Starting out, we have a drill with a Phillips head bit. You could alternatively use a screwdriver, but I like my power tools. So you have a drill. You will also need some wire cutters slash wire strippers right here to take off the insulated part of the wire if you need to make a new connection. So these are pretty handy. You will also need a hammer more than likely. The reason why you will need a hammer and the reason why you will need to be careful with it is if you have an existing outlet box already installed in your area, you're going to have to take that outlet box out to install these lights, and the hammer is very handy for taking that out. To actually cut through the sheetrock, you will need to enlarge the hole so that your light can fit in, but to cut the sheetrock, you will need a drywall saw, and you might also need a box cutter just to be able to get through it. And last but not least, you might also need some wire nuts, just in case you have lights that you need to make the actual electrical connection with wire nuts and not with smart connectors. So these are the lights that I'll be installing. I have found these on Amazon for, I think it's like $60 for a pack of 6. So that comes down to about $10 a light, which is very competitive when compared to some of the big box stores pricing on lights. So I would definitely suggest these. I found these on Amazon, but the light is extremely low profile. So you can install this light even if you have a joist or something directly above the sheetrock, because this will fit within the sheetrock itself without any problem. The only part that you have to be careful about is that this box, you have to have a place for the box to go. This box is where your actual wires will go when you are switching out your light. As you can tell, this particular brand of light comes with smart connectors for your wires. So you simply push your power line into these and you're good to go. Turns into a nice little matching game. The black wire goes with the black wire. The white wire goes with the white wire. And in my case, I have bare copper, and that will go into the ground wire slot here on the green. So what you'll do is you will take this connector, make your wire connections. You can then adjust the brightness that you want for your light. It has a little switch on the side that lets you do that. And once you have your hole the appropriate size, you can thread these 2 connections together and you'll be good to go with this light, just pushing it up into the sheetrock by bending these clips in. It'll catch on the other side and support the light. But I will show you in detail this entire process, so stay tuned for that. So this is the light that we're gonna be changing out. This is in a very messy closet that could, house a magical 10-year-old boy for you Harry Potter fans out there. But before we start working on this light, we're going to want to make sure the power's off. Some people might just turn the power off at the switch, because obviously if the power is off at the switch, you should not be electrocuted when you're messing with wiring. The problem in my case is that I have a 3-year-old child, and it would be my luck that I would take the light off and then my 3-year-old child would flip the switch without me noticing. I would forget to check and I would electrocute myself. So I will be turning my light off at the breaker, and I would always suggest that you do this to make sure that you're doing this as safely as possible. Go to the breaker, make sure that you have the right breaker flipped, and make sure that your light does not have any power to it. So I'll flip the breaker, and as you can see, without revealing my messy closet, dun 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 dun, I'll flip it back on the light. No light, there's no light, which means the power's off successfully. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start taking off the globe. That's really easy. All you're going to do is, with both hands and off camera, you're going to remove this nut that will take this globe off, and I'll show you what you do past this point. I'm right-handed, so it took my right hand to loosen this nut. Watch this whole thing just fall off because I'm trying to do this one-handed and record. So be patient with me as I turn this, but essentially you're going to just remove this like you would when you are trying to change out the light bulb. This globe's going to come off. You see the light bulb there. If you can notice back in the back right here, we have a screw. And there will also be one on the bottom side. It's back there. Those are gonna be the screws we need to remove in order to be able to remove this entire fixture from the wall. So this light bulb's hot because for whatever reason, this light's been on. So we're gonna take this light bulb out and then we're gonna use the drill to actually remove this entire plate. All right, so just like that, your plate is dangling. All that's left are the wires that are connecting it. But you can see these wire nuts here. We're just gonna unscrew these. By unscrewing these wire nuts, what's going to happen is this fixture that we're removing is going to fall off by default any moment now. Okay, so these wires are twisted on. And just like that, the fixture's off. We have a box. We have this brace that we will no longer need, and we have the 2 wires exposed that we will need to power the new light. So oftentimes these boxes are attached to a stud. As you see my wandering camera as I'm actually trying to look with my eyes in the moment at what I'm facing. But oftentimes these are attached to a stud, so it can be difficult to get these out. Sometimes you'll have screws attaching it to a stud immediately behind it, and those screws would be in these holes. We don't have that, which means more than likely we have a stud to one side of this box. Camera, I have tested this, and I have found out that the stud is actually on this side. And using this drywall drywall knife, you can kind of make it out as I pry it. So that's where the stud is. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually cut a larger hole around. There should be a template that came with the lights that you can use to do this. You're going to put the template up on the ceiling. You're going to mark the template out with a marker or a pencil. And then after that, you're going to take a drywall knife such as this and actually cut out the hole. This is the part that's super messy. So you want to make sure that you have something down on the floor to catch the dust, or you want to make sure that you have a vacuum cleaner running at the same time as you're cutting to be able to capture any dust. And this is a biggie. When you're cutting, you want to make sure that you do not cut these wires or this wire. It might be hard to know which direction it's coming from, but my advice would just be go very gently and very shallow in this area here, since it appears to be coming down from above. Probably see this sketchy line. Just know that I actually lost the template that came with these lights, and I kind of had to freestyle it a little bit. So that's an original Ethan sketch right there. I've been working on this off camera because I'm holding this knife with one hand and I'm holding my vacuum cleaner with the other hand to try to minimize the dust. But all you're gonna do is you're gonna push this knife through. You might have to actually break the sheetrock. And just remember that you can always make your hole bigger. I mean, yes, that's right, actually. I just had a mental moment, but you can always make your hole bigger, but it's very difficult to make it smaller. So always start out with a more conservative, smaller approach, and then widen the hole if you need to when you actually have your light in there. And this is a demonstration. Oh, there we go. Okay, so then you would cut, and then the dust and mess follows. Cut all the way up to the 2x4. As you can tell, as I demonstrate with my knife, it really won't go in any farther. So you might have some difficulty cutting around the 2x4. What I do to get around that is I'm actually gonna pop out the section that I've already cut. So you can see that kind of coming off like this. And that's going to give me some room to work with this electrical box. I actually just used my hammer and hit right here on it, as you can tell from the cracking. That ended up backing it out, these nails back out of the wood. So now I can just take this off by pulling it off the wires, and I can finish cutting this opening around the wood. So after breaking out the trusty box cutter, I was able to get this cut away. Just remember, I'm cutting the hole smaller to make sure that I'm going to have more material than I need than less material, because it's a lot harder to put it back on. So the nice thing is, you can see right here, there might be a conflict with the light when it comes to this joist or this stair support. The nice thing about these low profile lights is that they are basically as thick as the sheetrock. So this will not be a problem. The light will actually stop before it hits here, and it'll be flush with the ceiling. You won't have to worry about hitting a joist or anything like that. I have the box. I've simply pushed this hole in. What we're going to be doing off camera, because I only have one hand in this particular configuration, I'm going to put these wires through this hole in the box, and then I'm going to push them into these smart connections that came with the light. So I'm going to match the black wire with the black wire, the white wire with the white wire. So basically this will be the neutral. I'm trying to speak electrician and I can't do that. So just black wire with black wire, white wire with white wire, and then we'll match the copper wire with the green terminal for the ground. I want to show you what I ran into here when I went to put these wires in the box. You can see that there's a lot of extra wire, if you will, and that's going to be difficult to cram into the box. So I have my handy dandy wire cutters / wire strippers, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut the white wire and the black wire a little bit shorter so that they fit in the box better. All right, so I've cut the black wire down. All I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this white wire like this, like so. Flies off into the abyss of the closet. Then I'm going to take this 14 gauge, match it up here. We're going to then pull very delicately. There we go. And now you can see that we have a new pretty white lead here, or a new lead on the white wire, I should say, if you can make that out. And we're gonna do that for the black wire and then just push these connections into the connectors. So just so you can laugh at my pain, I've saved this last wire to try to do on camera with one hand. All you're going to do, you can see the exposed end here. Copper's nice and exposed. You can see the inside of this connector. You have some holes, and we're going to match it up into these holes. And once again, I don't know if I can do this one-handed. I might be a dreamer. But when you get it in there, what you're going to hear, and you're gonna feel it as well, is a nice satisfying click or pop. So you will know that it's in there. It's not easily going to come out. So you should be good in this scenario. So all you're gonna do is tuck your wires into this box, close it up, and we'll move on to the next step. So now we're gonna do a rough test just to see if my light will, that looks huge, my light will fit in the hole. So I went ahead and installed this box for a very simple reason. I don't want to lose my power cable into the unknown. So I'm going to now, after I've stuck that in there, we're going to, with one hand, I've said that so many times in this video, but the shaky photography, everything, I'm doing all this with one hand, so bear with me. All I've done is push in those clips, and you're gonna see, it appears I have a slight conflict. So I'm going to need to, this is just the trial and error process that you go through. But the conflict that I'm seeing is right here. So I'm gonna have to cut the hole a little bit larger on this bottom side. But once I do that, it should fit in with no problem. Fits in the hole, good deal. I had to widen my hole out some to make sure that it would fit. So that was done, as you might have guessed, off camera. So all I'm going to do now is connect these two wires together. So what you'll do is you'll push these connections together, thread this nut, and you'll be good to go. So just to show you, I've threaded the connection. I'm gonna push this box back into the abyss. There are holes here. If you feel compelled to attach it to something, you can. Maybe you're supposed to, but I tend to just let it ride free in the shadow, because what could go wrong? Anyways, so we're gonna stick this cable back into this hole, and then as we do it, and hopefully you'll be using both hands, I got one hook already in, but we're just gonna flip this hook up to get it into the sheetrock and push it in. And once you get all the cables in the hole, you'll be in good shape. I already had the moment of truth off camera to make sure it would work, but as you can see, the light now works. So we have, in under 20 minutes, and I was recording a video, we have a new light installation complete. This is the fourth light like this I've changed out in my house, and it took me about 20 minutes to do that while recording this video. So it's very quick once you get the process down and have done the first couple. The ones that come after that, the subsequent ones, go much quicker. So if you like the content you see here, please like, subscribe, comment, all of that fun YouTube stuff, and I will endeavor to put more videos out on a more frequent basis. I've got a few projects going on around the house, and I'll pick one of those and share that with you. So as always, thanks for tuning in. For those of you that stuck around, you know, these recessed lights are oftentimes used to replace a light fixture known as a boob light, and I feel inappropriate saying that on YouTube. So yeah, I'm not gonna call it that. I'm just gonna call it a light fixture.